Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Illuminate, Navigate, Radiate. Here with another topic discussion. As always, we have Michael joining us from Virginia Beach. How you doing today, Michael?
Fantastic as always, Brandon. Thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, man. It's always good to see you and have you here and diving into another fun discussion. This time about finding balance in our lives and looking at what that takes and where we struggle with it, how we manage it, and just overall how it affects our lives. Because I know for me, when it comes to balance, I struggle with it, being able to balance different things I'm doing, or being able to balance my focus and my attention on different things. So I'll get really into something or really passionate about something, and then that's where I'm stuck for a while. So when I have that balance in my life, it feels a lot better. Things feel manageable. And then when I don't, that's where like I start to struggle on either responsibilities, or I start to struggle just on like feeling good, because then I don't sleep well. And, there's just all those different factors that go into balance in our lives. So just kind of that overall, concept, how do you feel like you do with it? Are you pretty good at finding balance, or do you struggle with it a little bit at times as well?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that some of the things you said are things I've dealt with in terms of my struggle with trying to find balance. And I know that it's not always easy for me because it's like everything's great while it's great. And if I can manage things, then you never know. But as soon as one thing kind of crosses over the edge where I'm not doing as well as I thought I was, or I can't handle the multiple inputs of stimulation from a whole bunch of sources, that's when I start to kind of break down. And maybe you might still not see it on the outside, but internally, I'm not processing anything. If something needs to get done, it's not getting done. And I kind of start to just fade into a mode where I'm just there, which is tough because I have responsibilities. Maybe, like you said, responsibilities could be family, friends, could be work. And if all those have to be kind of together at the same time, but they're not because, I'm not able to find that balance, that's where I kind of shut off, as crazy as that sounds. Sometimes end up isolating myself actually just because of that struggle. So for me, it actually has been quite a struggle. I haven't been able to find the balance that I've needed until maybe very recently that I can kind of stay consistent with it, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I think like that consistency part is so big and so key when it comes to balance, because I feel like mine ebbs and flows a lot. Like I'll like pull it into a balance, and then something will happen or something will change, and then my balance gets all out of whack. Or like even while I was coaching, soccer, especially high school soccer, when we get into season, there's 2 or 3 months there where my balance would be out of whack because I'd be working, then I'd be going to the fields or going to a game. So depending on the day, it was the amount of time the extra time I was gone from my house. But then my obsessive mindset or behavior when I was in season, especially in high school season, is I'm watching films from teams we're about to play. I'm watching other scores. I'm already looking at, okay, who could we play in the playoffs? How are they doing? And I'm just I'm on this for hours almost every single night. And then not only just other teams, but then I'm looking back at our game film as well. I'm looking at little details about things that happened, what built up to a goal, where we broke down, just all those different things. And so like so it'd almost be like, as that year went, is how my balance would be. And I always struggled when I'd get a little bit busier to kind of rein it in and say, okay, this is the time I'm going to commit to something, and I'm going to commit this other time to something else. And that's where I feel like really helps me, is when I really concentrate on like my time frames. All right, I'm already gone at soccer for 2 or 3 hours extra after my 8 hour day job, and so then I got to find that balance when I get home, right? It's, either I'm coming home for dinner time real quick, or I'm putting the kids to bed or something to help out a little bit more, to, spend a little more quality time with my family. So I know for me, it's really about being intentional when things get busier or things change. And that's where I think my balance, or my mindset towards balance, I don't always keep focus on it. And so then I lose it and I lose it and I lose it. And then a couple months go by and I'm like, oh, I'm exhausted. I'm burnt out. I've been doing too much, too fast. And now I'm at this point where I got to kind of reset, and my balance goes the other way to where now I feel like I got to rest and rest and rest and catch up. And then I'm kind of all out of whack. And it's about finding that right flow of things and then keeping it together, like you said, with as much consistency in those moments.
Yeah, that's the most difficult part. It's been my struggle as well. In a similar way to you, Brendan, when I get into that type of kind of, I guess, pattern of where I have just enough to do and then maybe I try to take something else on, or I'm taking more time with something that I don't normally take as much time with, and then it causes something else to, I guess, lack in terms of my focus on it. That's where I've had to really focus on prioritizing my time, kind of what you were speaking about, being intentional with, is it this 2 hours is practice? I don't think about anything else during this 2 hours other than practice, but leading up to practice, I can't be thinking about practice for the 8 hours I'm at work, which is very easy to do as we're trying to plan, especially you being a coach. I coached as well, the younger age groups, so maybe not as intense of planning that you would do at the high school level in that age, but at the same time, I know there was plenty of days where I go, okay, I got to make sure that I'm, leaving work at this time to do this, to make sure I get here, and then, I got to do that. And then that's where sometimes 30 minutes of work goes by, and I was just kind of thinking about that. Next thing you know, boss, hey man, you got that? Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry, let me, shoot, let me go back to work. You know what I mean? And that's an easy thing to fall into. So that balance that we try to seek sometimes doesn't come so easily because we are balancing or we're juggling, 30, 40 different things, it feels like. But having that focus, that specific plan, if you will, on kind of let me, almost like you're budgeting money, budget my time in my day so I can make sure that I'm allocating the time it needs to be allocated to the things that they need to be, not too much and not too little. But of course, that is always the challenge. How do we find that balance, and what does that balance look like when you do have 4 or 5 things you're doing every day, whether it's family, friends, work, and otherwise? So that's where I kind of have been focusing I guess, my overall energy on trying to find ways to stay focused on the things I need to focus in the moment and pushing the things away that I don't need to focus in that moment. And then being able to pull that all together kind of at the end of the day as a full picture of, okay, this is what I accomplished. Tomorrow's going to look like this. How much of that can I stay consistent with, like we're talking about? Because that's always the challenge. And that's where, for me, I'm doing better. It's not always easy, but even, sometimes when we're trying to, get on and film, a lot of stuff happens, life happens, family happens, and, maybe we have to push it back or move it to the next day. And a lot of that's balanced too. And, as I'm doing more, I'm actually currently going through a kind of a resurgence of how can I balance the time I've already been balancing with adding a few more things in. And that's where I'm kind of, I guess, adapting myself even now.
Yeah, and I like what you said with the being at work and then thinking about the practice. I've coached at younger ages too, and like again, my mindset goes to, and I think it plays into the fact that we're passionate about it, right? Like we love soccer, did a lot for our life, so we want to make sure we can have that impact on other people through that avenue, the same way that maybe some of our coaches did for us, or just the happiness and joy that the sport brought us. Um, and so I tend to do that a lot where I'm in one thing and then my mind's actually on the next thing coming up. And then I get to practice and my mind's on like, okay, what do I got to do when I get home? And so then it's always on that next thing, and it's hard to keep focus in that moment, which I think is going to play really well into our challenge, our wellness challenge for this week about being in the moment. So make sure you guys tune back in on Friday. Um, but that's such a hard thing to do, I think, too, with how connected we are, and like how I can focus on 10 tasks on my phone because I'm connected to the maybe people at soccer, I'm connected to the people at work, I'm connected, like you just said, finding that balance in that time, and I mean, we were just doing that today, right? I mean, we were just talking about finding that balance of like, okay, let's do this here, or let's like sit down and work out planning to plan, so that way we stay in balance. Basically, we stay balanced in doing this, and it takes a lot of work to be balanced and to feel balanced, right? I mean, I know when I feel balanced, I feel more at peace. I don't feel rushed, right? Like I don't feel like, oh crap, I forgot about this, so now I gotta make up for it in another way, or oh crap, I forgot about this, so I didn't put enough attention into that detail. Or like you said, maybe you're at work and your attention somewhere else, and then it's like, hey, you gotta do this, and your mind kind of goes back to it. So I think it's that feeling of calm too, which I appreciate when my life is balanced, and just giving me that sense of like, all right, I know what I'm doing next and I already have my plan for it, so I can keep all my attention right here, and I don't even have to think, because I know right when I go into that next mode of my day or my life, whether it's going from being in the school to at soccer to being a dad to being a husband to being a friend, whatever, when I go into each mode, then I feel more prepared and more in that moment that I have to be in.
Yeah, that balance that you speak of, just the way you talk about kind of how it has to work for you is key for me because I know that every time I am trying to even sometimes plan my day out, it doesn't always, of course, go to plan, and then I get that feeling of kind of being almost rushed, and I don't have enough time in the day to get done what I need to, or I don't have enough time in my shift to get everything I need to get done before the next day or before I go home, and then I don't have enough time because maybe I have practice, so then I have to, make sure dinner's ready, or then all of a sudden that rushed feeling for me is where I feel the worst. And to what you spoke about being calm, the kind of the composure feeling you get when everything is balanced and you do have the plan that you can carry out, it's amazing. It's a great feeling because you don't feel rushed. You feel like you have control over your day and over what you're doing. Brings out a lot more confidence in what you do. You perform better all around, whether it's at work, at home, as a husband, as a father, all the above. I know when I'm the most at calm with myself and my mind and what's going on, I can be the best for who I'm with, whether it's my daughters, whether it's my fiance, whether it's even just being around family. I can contribute to whether it's a conversation or the whole setting without feeling like I'm kind of just intermittently pushing myself in and out while I'm thinking about what I got to do later or what I didn't do already or what I need to get done. Focusing on that moment and being present has really helped me achieve that calmness, I guess is the best way to put it, because I know I hate feeling not calm. I hate feeling like I don't have enough time to do what I got to do. And when you don't have balance, that feeling comes all the time. And so for me, learning how to avoid that feeling or overcome that feeling of being rushed has helped me kind of force myself to either plan my day out or simply take on less things until I can get a balance going where I can start to put more stuff in my day. And that's kind of where any advice I'd give as well, just from my experiences, if you are feeling like that rush feeling is coming on, trying to take on too much, step back, write down everything that you're doing every day. If it's more than the hours in the day are, including sleep, figure out what you need to do that's a priority that you have to do, and then figure out what you can do that isn't as necessary that you can actually spend time on. So that way, as you start to balance that, you can get that feeling of calmness and that composure where you feel almost relaxed, even though you have to do a lot. That's kind of that equilibrium, I guess, if you will, that I try to achieve on a daily basis. But it's not easy, and I'm sure that you can relate to that.
Yeah, and I like that importance of balance and bringing calm. And I think that's the biggest thing that balance can bring you. I mean, obviously, like when I was in active addiction, there was no balance to my life. My life always felt frantic. It always felt like, I was trying to figure out so much at one time, and whether that was like getting high or how to get high or how to hide it or how to interact here or how to interact there, or just whatever I was feeling. It was always so frantic and so hectic. And I lived like that for so long. It almost became my comfort zone. Like, I feel like at times I'm like, okay, well, I perform when it's hectic. Like, I can make it happen when it's hectic. But then that, especially now with that I don't use and everything, it catches up to me a lot faster. Like, I can feel that burnout come real quick when I'm not finding balance in my life. And so I think that importance of balance is really calmness in our life, right? It really brings that ability to, like you said, just be there in those little moments, be focused on what we have to do, and not have to worry about the next thing, because we already know, okay, the next thing starts there. I'm prepared for the next thing, so I don't have to think about it while I'm doing something else. And I like what you said about the writing stuff down. I'm a big planner person. I like planners. So I'll usually have like two or three at a time. And I feel like when I'm keeping up and I'll write, one planner will be like the month things that I have going on. The next planner will be like the weekly things I have going on. And even though I could put it all in one planner, I buy different types of planners so that way it looks easier. And then I got the hour ones as well. And I just write, I like writing those things down multiple times in different ways because it helps me, for one, just stay organized and stay focused, but it helps me feel calm and prepared for the next thing. And that to me really works. I'm not big on like keeping a calendar in my phone or doing things like that because I can't keep up with it and it just doesn't work for me. So I think having having that ability to see what works for you and finding balance is so important because that's where you get it from. It's like find your system, and then that way I can look at it. Okay, wow, I just spent, a whole day, doing nothing. There was nothing on my calendar. There was nothing in my planner, so I literally didn't do anything. And so now it's like Sunday night. It's like, all right, dishes got to get done, laundry's got to get done. Got to make sure certain things are washed for my kid to take back to school for his nap time. And then I'm like rushing or getting up early the next morning to do it. So when I can stay organized down to even some of those small little tasks, I just feel more calm about my life. And it's a struggle. It's hard to do, but I think it's one of the more important things that we can do in life to be happy and feel good about what we're doing and where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you're speaking on, that organization of not just what you have to do, but the organization of your time specifically. Because if you don't have your time organized or you're not organized in how you approach the things you have to get done, in a similar way to kind of the examples you just gave, it is Sunday night and three or four or five things that should have got done Saturday and Sunday during the day have not gotten done. So now you have to kind of revamp the plan. Do I get it done tonight? Like you said, you wake up early in the morning to try to get stuff done. And that's kind of what can lead to even frustration beyond just you have to do it. So it's beyond just, oh, what am I going to do? No, I have to do it. Now, what am I staying up late? Am I getting up early? I have to change my plans. And then at that point, you start to lose that sense of calmness that you had when you got those things done. And that organization of your time is really crucial, at least for me specifically, because I know that when I have that plan, like, okay, I'm off on Sunday morning, get laundry done, get my car washed, make sure that, food is ready. But if I just sleep in until like 11:30 or 12 because I was tired or I had to stay up the night before because of something that I forgot to do that day, then it's just a kind of a ripple domino effect. Before you know it, it's Sunday night, nothing got done. And I'm still catching up trying to figure out, did I even eat today? Like, what happened? Where did the day go? And I know everybody can relate to the feeling of how did it get to be 7:30 p.m. on my day off and I don't feel like I did anything. Nothing got accomplished. You might have done everything. You might have been busy from 9 a.m. and just didn't feel like you got much done. But knowing that you have that plan you can fall back on and that organization of time, I think helps you be more adaptable in those situations where you don't have to stick to the plan because something happened and anything can happen. But knowing that, hey, okay, I have a plan. If it doesn't go the way I want it to, I can still kind of bounce back and I don't have to lose that feeling of being calm, that composure, that sense of relief, knowing everything's going to be done. I may have to do it a little later or earlier, but if you never had that plan or you never had that organization the first time, it's 20 times worse because you didn't actually ever know what you were going to do. And then now when you have to get it done, it's stress. It's beyond just not getting stuff done. You feel stressed, and then stress generates anxiety, and that anxiety can turn into just a whole bad day before the day even starts. And that's what you want to avoid if you can prevent that. And there is ways to prevent that. And this, what you were speaking on, really taking a specific focus. If writing stuff down on a physical calendar makes you feel like you're organized and it helps you stay on track and stay on track of your time, I always recommend it. There's a famous study. Well, I don't know if it was Harvard or Yale, but essentially the top 3% of the most productive people on the planet would write stuff down every day, whether it was a list, whether it was what they need to do for the day, for the week, prioritizing what they need to do first compared to last. And those are the most productive people on the planet. And whether it's on your phone, not saying you can't do it on your phone, but as long as you have that specific focus, I know that you can be successful with doing something like that. But that's where the challenge lies when can I, how do I take that first step? I've never written anything down in my life. What do I do now? How do I just grab a planner and start writing? I don't know what to do. And that's the challenge, you know, but taking that first step is everything, is with a lot of the stuff on an emotional resilience journey, is just taking that first step, not really caring about how you got there or what you're doing, but just in your mind, kind of flipping the switch. Like, I'm going to do this today and I'm going to start. I don't know what I'm doing really, but I'm going to find out. I'm going to seek guidance and help. And just by kind of having that approach, that mentality can really change your whole approach. And then that can actually start to help you get on a path of where, hey, I can find more balance because I want to find balance. I'm not just okay or content with accepting my life as it is. I can control more of my life. And then that can lead to more balance, which can lead to that calm that we're talking about. And I think that's kind of where I've experienced that journey personally, because it's exactly how I kind of got to where I'm at today, where balance seems to come a little easier because I've maybe trained in my mind a little bit. And I think that's a big part of it as well, kind of that mentality, that approach.
Yeah, and first off, I feel like since I write things down, you just said I was one of the most, top productive people in the world. I wish it worked like that. But I mean, I think that sense of overwhelming that you mentioned as well, like that overwhelming feeling of, oh, it's Sunday night and I didn't do anything. I think that's the cycle that we can fall into without that balance. Because I know, as you were saying that, I was thinking about how at times, like, it's like, all right, there's some dishes, in the sink, and I could do them right now, but I'll do them later. And then later, there's a lot more dishes in the sink, so now it's like, I'm not going to spend my time doing this, so I'm going to wait till the morning. And then it goes 2 or 3 days, and it seems overwhelming. And that's just like a small example. Those big things can happen in life too, but just that being a small example of how when we don't have that balance, things can add up, and then we get stuck in that cycle. And that's where, anxiety can get worse, or depression can get worse, or just that feeling of, I can't even get started because there's so much to do. And a lot of that, I think, thinking back on it, a lot of those times I had those feelings is because I let my life get out of balance. I put too much focus on one thing. And so eventually, when I had to take a step back and look at that bigger picture, it was like, oh, shit's hit the fan. There's no way I can catch up with all of this. And so I think, when we keep that balance, even though it's a struggle and it's hard, it just adds so much to it. And like you said, with anything that we're going through, with any type of, building emotional resilience, it's just taking that first step. It's just trying, really. I mean, you might have to try again and again and again and again. And eventually you'll get there. If you're constantly trying, constantly putting in the work, you'll figure out what works for you. Maybe that first thing that you try, perfect, and for a year your life is going well, but then maybe something happens. Maybe you meet somebody, maybe you have a kid, maybe you get a new job, maybe you add to your job responsibilities, and then you might have to switch that again. And so it's all about just taking those steps to do that, to start that journey. Because if there's so many times in my life where I sat there and said, I'll start that journey tomorrow, I'll start that journey next week, I'll start that journey at the new year, right? I mean, that's like the popular one. Oh, it's new year, that's when I'll start doing something new in my life or something better in my life. But I mean, really, why wait? Again, we don't know how much time we have here. We don't know what our lives are, what's going to happen in our life the next day. So why do we wait? It's so important to just say, you know what, if I want balance in my life, if I want my life to feel more calm, feel more productive, if I want to be happier, I just have to take that step. I just have to try. Yeah, I might fail and I might have to try again tomorrow in another way. But like you said, it's all about that first step. And once you can start taking that first step, if you have to take that first step 10 times, at least you took that first step 10 times.
Absolutely. That's the how we can kind of bring consistency back into it too, because while we may have balance and we're staying consistent on a day-to-day basis, staying consistent with your first effort to find that balance is key. And just like you said, it could be five, it could be 10, it could be 100 times. But if your mentality is, I'm not gonna let this get me down, I'm not gonna fail, this isn't gonna, basically, I'm not taking no for an answer, I'm gonna find what works for me. If you can keep that mentality, that approach, you will persevere. You will find what works for you eventually. And not only that, you'll find how to find balance more easily and more consistently. It's when we kind of try, or we say, I am taking the first step, and we maybe convince ourselves that we are. And then, we kind of half try. Maybe it kind of doesn't go, or it kind of does. And so we're okay for a day or two. And then before you know it, we're just like, yeah, that didn't really work. Or you start talking to yourself in maybe a negative way. Yeah, I knew I wasn't for me. I never write anything down. Why did I expect that to work? But that's the switch in the mentality where I've never done this. I've never written anything down, but this could work. Let me actually try. Like, look at yourself and say, I'm trying. And doing that multiple times, yeah, you will find something that works. And then once you find something that works, you can start to build on that. And, your balance will come in the shape or form that is best for you. And it is going to look different. Just like almost everything that we have spoken about, it's going to look different for everybody. But at the same time, you can still get the same result or achieve the same end goal, which is to just be happier with your life, knowing you're not stressed every day or rushing or stressed about having to rush because things are just kind of passing you by and you don't feel like you're taking control. And I think that's the key for me is, as with anything that's important in life, you got to kind of take it or take control of it. You can't just expect it to be given to you or expect it to fall into place without any effort. You have to take control of those actions that you're trying to become your norm. And if, you're not able to find the balance, don't give up. Find friends or family. Look at the person who you think is the most successful in your life. And when they never seem like anything's wrong. They never complain about anything going bad. They always seem to be in a good mood or good spirit. They always get their job done. Talk to them. You'll be surprised to find out that they're probably juggling a lot more than they're letting out on the surface, but they've maybe found a way to manage it. And sometimes just a conversation with someone like that can help you understand that they're a person like me. They might be struggling with more stuff than I'm even going through, and I can't even find my balance. So it kind of helps maybe kickstart what's possible in your own mind, because that's really where it all starts. And then once you can get an idea of how you feel like the balance can come, you actually can see that bigger picture that we've talked about. And it's not just, okay, today is work, 9 to 5, come home, make dinner, go to bed, repeat. I know my car maybe needs something. I know I'm supposed to work on this project. I know I'm supposed to do this, but I'll just worry about that later. Worry about it later. Worry about it tomorrow, like you said. Tomorrow's, unfortunately, it's probably an old saying, but tomorrow's always a day away. It really never comes. Today is the day that you have to make a move. And if you don't, then you may not find what you're looking for. But if you do, you'll find that ability to kind of grow. And I know that when it comes for any type of mentality, any type of mental awareness and health, growth in any kind in the right direction will lead you to a better place. And that's kind of why I am so grateful to be able to, talk to some of the stuff about this with you, because it's crazy to think about where we've come and how we found some of this stuff in our life, but how even as recently as a few months ago, I was struggling with stuff like this. So it's really helping me out a lot, watching our videos and making sure that it all makes sense. And at the same time, learning from even myself from a few months ago, and you as well. It's been exciting. And so for me, that balance is so important because it helps you really feel good about yourself. And then that just opens up the door for so much more growth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think like with balance, that growth is so huge, right? And growth and balance, I think, go hand in hand because when you're balanced, you give yourself more room to grow, right? There's more space to grow when things are balanced because then again, your attention's on what your attention's supposed to be on. You have that free time, you have that you time, you have that relationship time, you have all those things where you're able to put 100% in whatever it is you're doing. So then you're always going to have that growth when you're doing that. And I think the other big side of balance is adaptability and being able to say like, okay, this month might look a little different than last month, so I have to be able to adapt my balance. Maybe last month I was able to spend more time, with my kids, And this month is a little bit busier, whether that's work or like, being in and out of season with coaching soccer. My balance would change every 2 or 3 months because it'd be hardcore in season. Every weekend I'm gone. Every day I'm gone. I'm trying to do this. And then I'd have 2 months where everything slows down. Maybe I'm doing a little bit here and there, and then it picks back up right away. So it's having that adaptability to take a step back and realize, okay, this month is a month I have more me time. So I'm going to take advantage, or I have more family time. So I'm going to take advantage of it. This month is a little more hectic because, maybe I work outside and it's getting nice out. So you're about to go outside. Maybe you just got a promotion. So it's like, hey, your responsibilities just went up. So now I got to take a step back and rebalance. And so being adaptable and realizing you're going to have balance, even when you do have it, you're going to have it for a moment. But life changes every day and new things pop up every day. So that you have to be able to adapt that balance and say, all right, well, this is what I can adjust here. This is where I can spend more time or less time here. And then my life will fall back into that balance. So I think that's, again, kind of going back to what I said in the beginning with that ebb and flow. That's kind of what we need with balance. We need to understand, because our life changes, our balance. I mean, obviously, like you were just saying, life, what we get out of life and what we do in life changes all the time. I'm sure, just catching up with you, we can look back at each year of our lives for the past 10 years and realize how much things have changed each one of those years. And I think when you recognize it, when you talk about it, again, going back to what you just said with kind of reconnecting, having these conversations, it's done a lot for me. Like I found that balance to be different right now doing this because I enjoy it. I get a lot out of this. And so I can look at this as time of growth for me because I can have an open conversation with you. I can learn from, other people when we're doing one of those segments. I can, the challenge ones this month, it's like each time we've talked about one of those topics and done one of those, it's like, man, I really do need to be better about this. If I want to be happier, if I want this in my life, I really do need to be better about this. And so, like, finding balance to be able to do this, and being able to grow with it and get better at it and be, being able to, keep pushing each other to come up with different ideas and look at things from a different perspective, I think is benefits my life in a lot of ways to where I can find time for this because it's given me a lot. And so then I can section that into a lot of different times of my life. I instead of laying in bed and saying I need to relax, I can come do this. Instead of saying I need to go, watch a movie because I need to get my mind of something, I can do something like this to where it's productive and adds a lot to my life. So again, it's about finding the balance in the moments as well. And at whatever time period you're at, whatever your life looks like in that moment. So you want to be adaptable. You want to be flexible to keep that balance going in life and on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like kind of how you put it. I know you spoke about, ebb and flow in the beginning, but also almost how your balance could be seasonal, if you will, kind of how you had described it, when you have coaching strong for a couple months and your commitment, your time is focused, but still having the balance to know that whether it's family at home that is on board and supportive. Hey, look, we go leading up to it. Hey, this is gonna be a couple busy months. I'm gonna be doing everything that I've been doing. It's going to be a lot of practice during the week, games on the weekend, tournaments, every couple of weeks. So that's expected. But knowing that and being able to plan for that, especially with the loved ones, helps you keep not only the balance, but your sanity a little bit too, because you feel like you're not just leaving them out to dry. They're on the same page. So you feel at peace knowing that you're doing what you're passionate about, but it's not at the cost or at the price or sacrifice of maybe family. So that when you do get that time back for family, you don't have to feel like, okay, now I'm good. I didn't have to hold my breath and walk on eggshells while I was with family because I was gone all the time. They knew this, and now that I'm out of season, I can spend the nights I was at practice with, the kids. I can make sure wife is happy with whether we're, going out, eating dinner, just spending time together. And so that's where I can relate to that as well because I know that my own balance has changed recently too because I was going into work around 11 a.m. So I had more than enough time to wake up, make sure kids were at school, make breakfast for me and my fiance, really just kind of making sure that the day started off right. And then in a matter of a week's time, schedule changes kind of happen. And now most of my days I'm going in around 8:30, which leaves a lot less time in the morning to make breakfast and do all the same things. So I've had to adapt my balance to where, yeah, I'm not able to make breakfast in the morning anymore. So now I'm finding other ways. Maybe I have to do something different. Maybe I am spending a little bit more money for lunch, but I have to kind of adapt, like you said, and that's the key. If you get stuck in a balance, yes, it's great, but that stuck is the key word I want to focus on, because you aren't able to adapt. And then next thing you know, when that 11 switches to 8:30, you're waking up at 7:30 and you start making breakfast. Like next thing you know, it's 9 o'clock. You're late for work. Now you're rushing, and then all of a sudden your whole day's out of whack. And that's where having that balance, knowing it could change monthly, weekly, it could change daily, it could change every few minutes even. But being able to understand that I have balance in my life. So regardless of what life throws at me, I'm going to be quick to adapt. I'm going to be quick to react. In fact, in soccer especially, we always talk about the opposite, or what's before reacting, and it's being proactive or anticipating what's coming. And it's a hard thing to teach sometimes and even learn, but if you anticipate that the day might not go according to plan, you're almost planning for the worst, but you're hoping that the best happens. And that's a good way to approach for me, because if something throws a curveball at me, it's not like, oh my gosh, man, this, what am I gonna do, man? I can't deal with this. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. Switch gears, pull it back, replan. What do I got to do? Okay, I can only do this. I can do this. I got to go straight to work. Come home. Maybe I can take a lunch. Then I can make some lunch. You just start to have the problem solving mentality. That's, I think, the biggest thing I've learned throughout my life that I can directly apply, especially when it comes to finding balances. Can I problem solve instead of problem find? Anybody can find a problem and then admit that it exists and have nothing to do, or the problem that happens, find a solution or be solution oriented, or just all I'm thinking about is how I can get past it, what I can do to overcome it. And that's really helped me kind of keep balance even in situations or moments where there was no balance and it was hectic and chaotic. It kept my sanity level, even killed approach. I didn't, but I also wasn't, relying on like substances to kind of get that feeling, because that's the other side of it. Okay, cool, I'm just going to take like 4 shots, you know what I mean? Take a hit, and everything's going to be fine after that. You know what I mean? The day will go just fine. But guess what happens? Nothing gets done. Even though if you think you're doing something, you're not really getting it done. You're sacrificing relationships with friends and family if you are trying to use that as a crutch, as opposed to yourself and your own growth and your own mentality. So that's where, for me, I've been very grateful to kind of see and grow through it, because in my mid 20s, yeah, I was a wreck. You know what I mean? Like fresh out of college, didn't really know where I was going. We spoke about this before, living at home, feeding off of my parents, well-being, and not really knowing what I was going to do. Not really having balance in my life because I was all over the place. And then getting fast forward to, a decade later, family, apartment, looking to buy a house soon, stable job, security, reliable transportation, just everything that comes with finding balance on a daily basis and being consistent, but knowing that it came from a place of chaos. And that's where everybody's going to be at one point. And I think you can grow a lot and learn a lot from the chaotic moments in your life. And if you get to that point of balance where you're happy with how things are going and you have a good feeling about your approach to life and every day, and how you approach the people around you, it just creates a level of, I guess, easiness. And I can't really find the right word, but it just makes you feel good about life. And it's a hard feeling to describe, but it's an amazing one when you do experience it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I really like what you said about, the benefits that life can bring you with balance, everything you described that you have now today in your life, and then how that came from chaos, right? We can learn from that chaos, and I think when we get out of that chaos and we do find that balance and we do reap the rewards of having more balance in our lives, that's why it's important to like share and talk about it, because like you said, yeah, you could use a substance, and I think I did that a lot, where I would use and use and use until I passed out, and then I'd wake up and be like, oh, my life is still hectic, out of whack, out of balance. Yep, I'm just gonna do it again. Maybe I'll wake up tomorrow after passing out again and be in a better place. It just never worked like that. But when we do find that balance from that chaos that our life can be in at times, it just shows that you can get out of so many different things if you try. Going back to what you said earlier about taking that first step, right? It's always okay to take that first step right now. Don't put it off, right? Just try. Do what you can to try in that moment to at least put in a little bit of effort to make a difference in your life, to find that balance, to be able to say, okay, this is my life is chaotic right now. I'm in a bad place. Everything is tough. What can I start removing or adding to feel better, to feel more calm? And I think that's where, focusing on balance can be so important, right? Is because it adds so much to your life. It adds that calmness. It adds that peace. And then, like you said, I really like, again, I want to say that again, that I really liked what you said with reaping the rewards of finding balance. You can have a life that you're happy with, that you feel successful in, if you can balance that out and keep going with it. So, try it, right? Find some balance, try some different ways to find balance. Understand that you have to be flexible and adaptable with that balance. But things are going to get out of whack. Chaos is going to happen. Life is going to happen. And that's where you just need to take a deep breath. As we tell our son right now, smell the roses, blow out the candles, and then, kind of go at it again. So yeah, I think this has been a great conversation on balance, and I think just doing that makes me think a little bit more about my life, and that's why I appreciate these conversations with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Even as I'm speaking about kind of my experience, I don't really ever share where I've come and where my mentality was at, other than in my own thoughts. So it's in a way, it's actually kind of helping me bring out more of how I got to where I got. So when I do get into a situation where maybe my balance does get called into question because 14 things happen unexpectedly and I'm not sure, which one I have to approach first, or I have too many things on my plate, but I have to get them all done, I can reflect back on even the conversations we've had and my own experiences to grow even further than I have now. And I think that's why I love these conversations we have so much, because we've done a lot of them now, and a lot of them are very specific topics that are very relatable to almost everybody who lives a life that involves whether working or have family. It can very relatable, everything that we've talked about and the emotions that come with it. And it's really been helpful for me, as it sounds like it's been helpful for you, and hopefully helpful for all of you guys out there watching, that yeah, these are things that you can refer back to, even if it's just a part of the clip of the video that, kind of, that was that click moment, that light bulb, that aha, like I know what they mean. I know what I've been when that situation happened, and I now know what I can try to do to help me find that balance, or help me prevent myself from isolating, or help me, you know, be more resilient, whether it's any of those topics that we've discussed. That's where I like what we're doing. And also how it ties into everything for me is when you have that balance in your mindset, it's a lot easier for you to create that in your life. And I think that's the biggest thing for me across everything that we've talked about, is if you can create it in your mind and you can manifest it in your life, you can achieve near anything that you want to. And I think that approach is difficult to come to, but very, very powerful when you get to it. And the most successful people in the world have had that for a long time, and anybody can get it. We're all people. Nobody's any stronger. The Bill Gates and the Elon Musk of the world are no smarter than me or you or anybody listening. They've done a little bit more each day, and that incremental difference has caused an exponential difference in their achievements. But we're all there. We're all people. We all have the same capacity. We just have to want it and take that first step, like we've been talking about, to get there.
Yeah, and just I want to just hit on real quick what you said before we kind of wrap up with. these conversations and taking something from it, because I know we go into these conversations knowing like we don't have all the answers. We're getting together to have some conversation, to be able to make it okay to say we're struggling, to make it more acceptable to just look at life in that those hard, tough moments. We don't always got to put on that face that everything is going well and everything is great. Nah, life is hard and stuff is shit sometimes. And so we don't even come here to have all the answers and to say like, oh, if you do this, life is perfect. But if you can take that one little tidbit from a 40-minute conversation and say, hey, I'm going to try this and apply that, that's where you can find something more in your life. And that's why I enjoy these conversations, because sometimes all it is that one little line, even while we're talking, that you say, or that automatic, like, just clicks in my head from something we're talking about. And it just adds to my day the next day, or it starts adding to my week, or it starts adding to what I had that perspective about, or what I'm looking at the time. And so, I think with doing this, again, we enjoy it, so keep joining us, keep jumping in, add into that conversation whenever you feel like it. But this is something we want to keep doing, and we're excited about it. So keep tuning in, keep checking us out. And like I said, interact in any way you want to. And, we're looking forward to the journey.
Absolutely. Especially, in the comments, let us know if you have great ways that you've had to find balance. Maybe someone can, read a comment and get the same type of thing they did from watching the video, or just helping somebody, and maybe your comment helps somebody that you've never met. And just that's the power of community, power of what we're trying to do here with radiating life to everybody that we can. The journey is not meant to be a lonely one if you don't want it to be. And that's what we want to try to emphasize. Hey, we're here for everyone that wants to be here, that wants help, that wants to grow in their lives. And this topic specifically, finding balance, is a great way to find more peace in your life. And that can open up the door to growth in a lot more areas that we've talked about. And I'm just excited for the journey to keep going.
Yeah, and I love that community aspect, because that's what we want to do, right? That's what we want to try to create. And, we're going to be right there, side by side, struggling and succeeding with you, because life doesn't just get perfect and smooth sailing. It's always that journey to get better, grow each day. And obviously, we're always going to hit bumps and curveballs, and we just have to be able to keep moving. So, again, thank you for joining us on Illuminate, Navigate, Radiate. Have a great rest of your day.